Okay, it's officially 5 o'clock for the special meeting of the Board of Trustees, August 13th, 2024. Can we have roll call?
Ms. Orch?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
And I would recommend that the board motion to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss appointment of public employees or officials. No action is anticipated to be taken.
And will there be any additional guests?
Yes, we will have Brody Conover and Nick Ziefel.
I will motion to enter executive session under those guidelines as stipulated.
Okay, good.
I'll second it.
Ms. Orch?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
It is 7:01, my Verizon time. Do we have anything to report back from executive session?
Nothing to report, so I would recommend closing the special meeting.
We have to wait for Mr. Baker, sorry. Vote for closing this.
Roll call.
Roll call first.
Ms. Orch?
Yeah, here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
And Jeff did state there was nothing to report from executive session, so I motion that we would close the executive session. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll second.
Ms. Orch?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, now we are going to have to take roll call again.
Ms. Orch?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
Okay, this is opening the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, August 13th, 2024. And we already said nothing from executive session. And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for a moment of meditation before you sit down, I'd like to say a prayer for all our children, teachers, bus drivers going back to school, for their safety. Please be leery of all our buses and our kids on the corners, and hopefully no tragedies at our schools this year. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Baker, we have some approval of minutes.
Thank you, Board. First, would ask for a motion for the approval of the special meeting minutes from July 23rd, 2024.
I motion that we approve the minutes of the special meeting from July 23rd.
Second.
Any discussions?
None.
None.
Ms. Orch?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you. Secondly, the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, I would ask for a motion for the approval of the minutes, also from July 23rd, 2024.
I motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting from July 23rd, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
None.
Ms. Orch?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a public hearing.
Thank you, Board. The first item tonight is a public hearing on case CZC 24-6. This is a major amendment to the FDP for 8640 Colerain Avenue. I believe David Miller will introduce this, and then we will recommend opening the public hearing.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
So we have before you a public hearing is a major amendment to a plan development. It is at the corner of Sovereign and Colerain Avenue. On that corner used to be a Suzuki dealership, and so it is now owned by the Weiler Auto Group, and so they have brought forward an amendment to that PD, and the parcel that previously contained just the dealership is not large enough to contain the entire new project, which is a car wash. And so with that project, the development there, we are amending the PD that includes the Weiler Nissan along with that parcel, which was previously or currently is Zone B2 for commercial purposes. And then we will consolidate, or the owner will consolidate all of those parcels together after this approval. So recommendation is just opening the public hearing, and we have representatives from the applicants, and you have before you the packets and the drawings that were submitted by the applicant as well. So happy to answer any questions beforehand if you have any.
I motion that we open the public hearing for case CZZ 24-6, major amendment to the FDP for 8640 Colerain Avenue.
I'll second.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
If you want to testify for the public hearing, please stand up, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Okay, Marla Banks, are you here to speak for the public hearing? Okay, you can come up now.
Ma'am, did you swear?
I was
Did you
gonna say
swear? Do you-
Okay.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay. You want to speak about? Yes. Okay.
Please state your name and address, ma'am. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Marla Banks, and I live on Commodore in the Sovereign Estates neighborhood. And when I first learned about the planned car wash at the corner of Colerain and Sovereign, I posted that information on the Sovereign Neighborhood Facebook page. There were over 20 comments, and not one resident supported a public business in a residential area. And there are reasons for that. There are already 3 car washes on Colerain Avenue, plus one on Galbraith Road. And I understand that there are proposals for 2 more on Colerain Avenue. One at Joseph Toyota and the other at Meyer. And it's my belief that the addition of 3 more is excessive and unnecessary. I do, however, support a car wash that would be for Weiler's use only. Of course, you already know my views, as I sent emails to the trustees, the development director, and the township administrator. And I appreciate the responses from Trustee Younger and from the administrator. Thank you. So in the future, I would encourage the development of more positive businesses that meet the needs of our taxpayers. Personally, I object to more bars, tattoo and fireworks establishments, and of course, car washes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie Davis?
Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Okay, the biggest problem with the property being made into a car wash, the biggest difference is the access point onto Sovereign Road. And that will attract even more traffic that you guys are trying to mitigate. You did a great job on the speed humps. They're working great. They're wonderful. They look good. But you're inviting even more traffic into that neighborhood. And so at the end of what I'm going to say, I actually have a proposal to try to address that. But my other concerns are very standard, typical concerns people might have regarding a new business going in and us changing the zoning for them. And one of the first things I want to say is when you look at the old public development documents, nobody along that way is keeping up with them. It looks really bad back there when you drive behind them. And there's all kinds of rules we have that were published in the documents in the packet that say there's supposed to be a certain number of rose bushes, there's supposed to be a certain number of trees, and we have not done a good job at making our existing businesses comply with the agreements they've made in the past. But I'm concerned that the B1, it says B2 in the documents, but it's a B1, I believe, that we're converting to the PDB. One of the reasons that might have been done was to provide a buffer to the residential neighborhood, and now we are going to be building a more invasive business right on the property line to residential property, because right next to it is residential property, and by putting this here, I think it will deter that property owner from investing. I know I would not want to be right next to a car wash. That business served as a buffer to prevent the township from encroaching with businesses into the residential area. I personally don't like the policy where we're taking residential property and making it business property when we have so many vacancies on Colerain Avenue. The property is, every time you guys let somebody change the zoning, a residential zoning to a business zoning, you are creating another vacant property on the Colerain Strip. The document says that there will be minimal light coming onto the property. When the statute says no light, it's light trespass. So I think we need to improve that. One of my concerns is at night, when it's no longer attended by an employee, will this facility be open? And would it be possible for us to block the entrances when it's after hours so people can't be up there using the equipment, hanging out, emptying their cars, trashing it up when the business is not even open for business? So most of the things I'm asking are things to make this plan better, not to cancel it. I'm not asking to cancel it. I'm asking that I think we need to do a little bit more to address some of these things. It says there's to be no flashing or emitting lights on any structure in that area, and this definitely has it. And so I'm curious, I see nothing in the document to address that. The noise, I made a call to Wild Waters in another jurisdiction, and I said, is it my imagination or are these really loud? And he said, it's not the washing that's loud, it's the exiting and the blowing of the vehicles off. That is very loud, and his words was, it sounds like a freight train every time a car comes out of there. So I'm a little concerned about the noise on Colerain Avenue, but more so concerned about the fact that Pancho's Restaurant has a little patio out there, and I think they're going to be hit with that noise really bad. So I'd like to see something done to address the noise, to minimize that as much as possible. And that sound is going to end up traveling back into that neighborhood. The cleanliness, we all see Zips. It is not attractive. They do not do a good job. I would love to see your approval require a schedule of cleaning of their property. Not that they're bad. I don't think they're bad. I don't know these people. But our experience in Colerain has been with these lower end car washes is that they are a trash haven. And so I would love to see you guys require some kind of bond or something to make sure they clean up nightly. Although the organization sounds great. I talked to the corporate office. The whole PD area needs to be brought up to code whenever a change like this is made, a major amendment. So I would hope that we would make sure that we bring it up to code. The big thing that I see that we missed as a township is you guys are requiring that whenever possible that we connect all these businesses to each other. And this property owner owns about half of the acreage in between Sovereign and McGill, and then some, I believe some past McGill. And there is a straight line between all these businesses going from Sovereign Road all the way to Compton Road. We could be connecting this now, diverting traffic from Colerain Avenue down through this back alley that it is proposed to close. And I think the township should help these businesses and making a corridor that I am calling Motoring Way. All these businesses are auto-related, almost all of them, and I think we have an opportunity today to start building that access road with the properties that they're working on and start getting that road built behind it. I believe it will be, with the proper advertising, will actually become a destination like King's Auto Mall and places like that. Let's go to Motoring Way in Colerain. I think we're missing a heck of an opportunity by not addressing this. I don't know how it got missed. Also, the other concern is the common open space. The document states, and Mr. Peters states, that they're required to have common open space. And if I'm reading the documents right, it's about a 3-foot wide piece of lawn. And your statute specifically says, required open space shall not consist of isolated or fragmented pieces of land that will serve no useful purpose or which will present maintenance difficulties, blah, 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 blah. Required common open space may include, and it has parklands, walkways, stuff like this. What I would like to do is tell them they don't have to put in the common open space to use the property in this plan the way they see fit. But what I would like them to do is to help with, if we're looking forward to an access road behind it, a private access road to connect all these businesses, what I would like to see them do is use some of that money, and maybe you guys could use the 45 grand you have in TIF money from the other development, and create a traffic circle at Regal and Sovereign. They're very inexpensive compared to just a 1-lane traffic circle. And if they could possibly foot the bill for part of that structure at Regal and Sovereign, it will help with eliminate the traffic. It will be aesthetically pleasing, and they will meet the requirements of having a common open space that is actually functional and usable to some point. So I am not saying not to do this. What I am saying is I think we have a little bit more work to do to meet our own laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brian McCare? Okay. Andre? Yes.
I'm Tim Burke. I'm here as counsel for a while. May I speak first?
Sure, please do. Okay, you were under another one, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tim Burke from the Manley Burke Law Firm, 225 West Court, Cincinnati. With us today are a number of people prepared to address questions that you may have. And most important in that regard is Jim Watson from McGill Smith, who put together this application. I would, speaking as an advocate, not as a witness, which is why I was not sworn in, I would like to point out that some of the statements made just by the last speaker were inaccurate. We're not taking residential property. We're occupying property that is already business zoned in B2, and the staff report makes that clear. So while the rezoning suggested by staff was to go to a PUD, and we've cooperated in that, it wasn't to take residential property and rezone it. It was to take what already was business zoned property on which car washes are permitted and include it in a PUD where the township actually has greater control in designing what happens in a PUD. And in fact, that's precisely what happened here. There were 4 conditions recommended by staff and ultimately recommended and approved by the zoning commission. Jim Watson from McGill Smith has already responded to those conditions, provided them, and I believe copies have been provided to you. They've already demonstrated compliance with all 4 of those conditions that were requested by staff. That's all I think I need to say at the moment. Jim Watson from McGill Smith is probably the most important one to hear from next. Mr. Paul Reaney, who's an operations manager from Weiler, is here. Brian McNair, you just heard from very briefly. Brian is in-house general counsel for the Weiler interests, and Andrew Wolf is the architect on this project from the Mark Dickerson architectural firm. And if you agree, I'd like to have Jim Watson come up.
Okay,
next.
Jim did not sign one, but that's not a problem. I have Paul, I have Andre, Mark. Oh, that's why I don't have one. Thank you.
Sorry.
So would you like to speak next? Thank you. State your name and address, please.
James Watson, McGill Smith Punchin, 3700 Park 42 Drive, Cincinnati 45241. I'm the civil engineer for the project. Do you have the flash drive? Okay. Maybe a place to start on this might be the civil plans, the first sheet.
Is that the 3-page plan?
It's like 10 or 11, but
Okay.
that would be a good. Well, let's look at.
Sorry, just pulling them both
No,
up.
that's fine. We could just go back to there we are. And you can see the shaded area at the bottom of the screen. That's the area that used to be the Suzuki dealership, the building itself. And that is the piece of property that's being brought into the Nissan PUD. And the car wash is primarily located on that rectangular parallelogram, I guess, piece, and the layout extends over into the PUD, hence the reason for us bringing this into the PUD. This will give you a picture of, well, not a great picture, but it's an aerial overlay of the site, and you perhaps can get a feel for how this relates. This is the layout plan that actually shows the car wash and in its relationship to the Nissan dealership. Utility plan, nothing there. The only thing of interest on there might be that we have underground stormwater detention. There's a vault that's below ground, and that's how we'll address stormwater detention for this project. That's a grading plan. Nobody knows what those mean. And then that's it. We can pass on that. Landscaping, we've got the 15-foot buffer. Before we acquired the property, or before we began this process, the property was paved border to border. And we're eliminating quite a bit of pavement with this project. And we have the 15-foot green space along both street frontages. We've got the trees and other plantings that are consistent with your streetscape requirements. Most of those trees are maples that you see there. And that's just planting details and whatnot. Here's a lighting plan. On the extreme right-hand side of the property is where this property abuts R6. Now, the R6 property to our east, north straight up the page on this, to our east is unimproved. It's a wooded area. There are no homes on it at this time. But our lighting is designed in such a manner where the light output at the property line is less than 0.1 foot candle, which your lighting regulations require. Along the street, the light output is between 2 and 3/10 of a foot candle, and that's well within your requirements as well. During hours of non-operation. We anticipate that the hours of operation will closely mirror the operation of the Nissan dealership. So it would close around 9 o'clock, perhaps 8 o'clock in that time frame. When the facility is closed, the lights will be dimmed. And to what level of dim, I'm not really sure. I think 2-foot candle. It's similar to the dimming that we have at the Honda dealership in the new lot that was constructed at the rear. There was a lot of conversation about the lighting intensity for that. And this will be similar. And then that's pretty much everything that has to do with the site plan aspects of the thing. Are there any questions that I could
Has
answer
an
about
access road been started there?
that? There's actually 2 existing curb cuts.
Okay.
And it being part of the Nissan dealership, I mean, one can drive from Sovereign to McGill without issue, or Sovereign and McGill to Colerain without issue. There's very good access there. I suppose in the future, if there was such a comprehensive access road that paralleled Colerain, it could be easily incorporated into this, and that the dealership's heavily paved.
You mentioned hours of operation. What are they?
The closing would be, they'll be the same as the dealership. Closing will be around 9 p.m.
What time do they open? About 8,
a.m.
okay. And so there's no self-serve vacuum cleaner through the night or anything? Well, no, okay.
And I mean, if other questions regarding operations and things of that character, Paul Reedy could address those. I guess the next thing to look at could be the rendering, the 2-page. If you got one that's got color, it'll be A or B. I think it's a standalone. This rendering will show this better, I think. And what differs between this and what the zoning commission saw was the zoning commission asked us to provide some relief in the look of the building. What we originally had was, it was all pretty much just black ACM panels. And that is no longer the case. I mean, we've always had the stone, the stone along the bottom of the building, but you might be able to make out how the ACM panels have been interrupted with some stone veneer as well, to provide a more interesting look and something that's more consistent with your regs.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Matt, you have any questions?
No.
Okay, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we asked the question?
Would you like to be sworn in and come up and speak?
Sure.
Okay.
Not just a question, there was a thing about will the lot be closed at night so that people don't hang out in it?
Well, we don't have, we don't anticipate gating the curb cut. Now, there is a fence between, and there's a fence, it's there now. There's a fence between this site and the Nissan dealership. And the only thing we're really gonna do there is just move the sliding gate from where it is to something that lines up better with the curb cut on Sovereign.
Okay.
That would promote some through traffic. But if someone wishes to drive in there at night, they presumably would be able to. I think, I'm not sure if the access has gates. Do you have gates on the I mean, the doors are gonna be shut.
Right.
No one's gonna drive into the car wash. But I mean, it's like any other business up and down Colerain. If you want to drive there now, you can.
Okay, did you have a question? What you said? Yes, sir. Did you want to ask him a question, or do you want to come up and speak?
I'm here, did you show my name up there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm here to address you guys on Commodore and Regal Lane.
Okay, you want to speak for the public hearing then?
Yes.
Okay, you're Richard Blue.
I'm Richard Blue, Sky Blue, Richard Blue, Golf
Okay.
Blue, don't kiss me.
Okay,
Sir, did I swear you in? You raise your right hand?
Raise my right hand.
Mr. Blue, this is not the time, the public comment period is going to be after we finish this public hearing. So if you can wait just a few more minutes, then she'll call you up on that time.
Oh,
that
I'll wait a
okay?
few minutes.
Okay, thanks so
But
much.
I didn't bring no paperwork or anything to read off paper, I'm reading off this.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
he's here to talk about a totally different issue.
okay,
We talked
We're
before.
talking about Regal Lane and Commodore.
okay, well, then we'll get to you next then.
Because some idiot over there driving a car, going over to avoid the speed bumps, almost hit me when I was going over.
Okay. Okay, I'll call you up for citizens address. Thank you, sir.
The next idiot drives it, I'm gonna rearrange his dental rig.
Okay, we have anybody else that wants to speak for the public address?
For the public hearing.
Public
Public
hearing.
hearing, I'm sorry. Because Andrew, did you want? Okay, and Paul? Same thing, okay. So I guess we can call.
I'll motion to close the public hearing on case CZC 24-6, major amendment to FDP for 8640 Colerain Avenue.
I'll second it.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. The next item on the agenda tonight is a presentation which will be presented by Mr. Jeff McElravy for an updated TIF plan.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
So as we embark upon the 2025 strategic plan and budget process, staff is interested in receiving feedback from the board about how the township might use its various TIF districts to support the operating and capital needs of the township. So we put together a brief deck here that summarizes the financial position of each of the TIFs and talks a little bit about TIFs in general from a policy standpoint. And our hope is to solicit some feedback from the three of you as to what your preferences would be as we begin to build the 2025 strategic plan and budget. So first, it's always a good reminder to talk a little bit about the basics of tax increment financing. The first thing that I think is important to share is that a TIF does not increase taxes. The amount of tax that is paid stays the same. The change is in how it is distributed. So, if you take a look at the graph here, what you see in section A in the blue is the pre-TIF tax revenue. That stays flat. That is distributed the same way as it would be with any other property in the county. As a result of the investment that is made in the property, there is an increase in the tax that is collected because there's an increase in the valuation. And that is what is in Block B. And then finally, what you'll see after the TIF concludes is that the increased revenue goes back to being distributed the way that it would be just like any other non-TIFed parcel in the county. The reason that this is beneficial for the township is in that middle pie chart that's labeled incremental taxes, rather than that new revenue being distributed amongst the dozen plus entities that receive property tax in the typical configuration. With a TIF, that new revenue is distributed primarily between the school district and the township. So this is a tool that has been used throughout the county to strengthen the financial position of townships, which leads us to the next slide. This board has been very eager to take advantage of the opportunity that comes from tax increment financing. I'd like to point out that some of our neighbors have been very aggressive with their use of TIFs. In particular, Anderson Township, almost 66% of all of the property in the township is TIFed. In Green, it's almost 74%. And in Delhi, it's almost 41%. For Colerain, we are at 0.3% at this point. So, taking a look at those TIFs that are 0.3%, there are 3 TIFs that are restricted, meaning that when the TIFs were created, they were created with a specific public improvement in mind. The first one is for the retail project on Springdale Road, commonly known as the Kroger TIF. This was established in order for that project to move forward. And the proceeds from that TIF are dedicated to servicing the debt for the public improvements that were part of that project until that debt is paid off. Happy to report that this TIF is doing extremely well. It's only going to perform better as the SINFED parcel and the strip center that is there hits the tax rolls. So this is one that is doing well, but for our near-term budgetary purposes is off the table. The next one is the TIF for North Ridge Crossing, and the revenue from this TIF has been pledged towards construction of or servicing the debt on a bridge that's necessary in order to open up the site for development. So that will be the case until that $1 million is paid off, and that's over a 10-year period. And then for the balance of the TIF, those funds will be available for public improvement purposes in that area. But until then, this TIF is spoken for as well. The third restricted TIF is the one that was created as part of the Rumpke headquarters. This is the Town Center TIF. This is one that was used to construct Generation Drive and unlock some industrial property that is adjacent to the Rumpke headquarters for development, and it's also the site of one of our new fire stations. This TIF is doing extremely well, and there are excess proceeds that are in this TIF fund, and we anticipate that there may be an opportunity for the township to use those excess proceeds to address some of its needs. And that's one of the primary areas in which we would like to have feedback from you this evening. There's a variety of eligible uses for this TIF. It certainly could be for additional public improvements inside of the boundary of the TIF. And also, it could be used to pay off the debt that is still out there for Generation Drive. We could pay that off early, potentially. The excess proceeds could also be used in place of proceeds from, or in place of funds that are in the fire fund that are currently servicing the debt that was issued in order to pay for the Station 102. So we could substitute these TIF proceeds for that debt service instead of it coming out of the fire fund. And we could also hold the cash until it's enough to be able to defease the bonds and pay them off early. So And there are other potential eligible uses, and we'd be happy to explore those based on your interest. But this is one of the decision points that we have coming up here in the 2025 budget.
So if we can, I think this would be a good spot to get a little bit of feedback from you all when it comes to strategy, understanding that at this moment in time it's locked up, but we're going to explore opportunities to unlock this cash in the next year. If we're successful in doing that, is there a strategy that is more preferred by the board?
Is the 275 interchange would that be eligible for this TIF money?
So that would be a legal question as to whether or not you could use it for those public improvements. So that is certainly something that if that is something you want us to dig in on and get that legal answer for, we could.
We've had so many complaints about that area.
Once the firehouse is in operation, is there signaling changes that might need to be made out on Colerain at Generation? Such as one day when I was riding around with the fire chief, he has an apparatus that can cause lights to change. Does that intersection of Generation and Colerain need to be improved? And I know that where it's 3 lanes wide, where the speedway is, that there's constantly long wheelbase vehicles that are riding up into the gravel, and they've taken out that Duke Energy lamp that's there several times. And then I think there's some, down by Speedway, there's a 30 or 40 foot section of road that needs to be repaired, so that those are in the immediate TIF area.
Mr. Unger, I've spoken to Speedway and Rumpke about that. They're waiting, they're splitting the cost on that. They're waiting for the county to fix that.
You mean to widen out
Where that
the turning radius up
where
there?
that turn is? They've already come to an agreement on that. I don't know what's taking so long, so.
They approached us
right
about
there is
widening
actually
it.
a unique spot because it is a county and ODOT battle as well. So it's been a few years, but I remember a strongly worded email from a county representative to a state ODOT person suggesting that it was their responsibility to fix. So I don't know where that is. I don't know if, Rumpke and Speedway are waiting on the county and ODOT to figure out who has the right of way and who issues the right of way permit there, but there seems to be a little bit of a rub as to whose responsibility.
They've reached the last time I spoke to the parties involved, they were going to pay for it. They just were frustrated that no one would do it.
Yeah. So, that to me seems to be like it's an ODOT county figuring out right there, but.
Is there improvements that need to be made so the other vacant land back there could be developed?
So, not to my knowledge. That was the big part of Generation Drive. Generation Drive is actually a thicker road in terms of road density compared to others, and that was intentional to support that development. There are some large-scale issues with water pressure in that area, but you would be talking a very significant public improvement to improve the water pressure along that area. I did want to ask Alan if he could maybe give us a thumbs up or down as to whether or not the preemption system is in existence.
There's no signaling changes that would need to be made. That particular light there at Generation Drive and Route 27 is a part of the preemption system. But in the new station itself, we're going to have the ability to take control of that light as we're leaving the station.
So then, getting back to your comment about the debt, Mr. McElreevy, which one has a higher interest rate on it, the Generation Drive debt or the Firehouse 102 debt?
I'd have to look and follow up with you on that one. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I'm always in favor of paying down debt. It gives us more flexibility in the future to do other things rather than, have a certain amount of debt on the books.
So my, I'm sorry, Mr. Unger, were you finished?
I'm done, sure.
My interest in this is probably new projects would be last. I would want to, if there's any way to provide relief to the general fund through reallocating funds, but then I would agree with Mr. Unger to pay down. And my gut feel is that the Generation Drive debt early would probably come first because
I think we're at 4.25 for the fire station.
Yeah, the fires, I don't know, I'd have to look at the amortization because holding cash until there's enough to pay the bonds early, at that point, we'd probably just be paying principal back. I'd want to look at the most financially advantageous way of doing that. But for me, it's general fund relief and/or debt pay down for that. That's, in my mind, I've talked about this for 5 years now, that these TIFs were designed, they were hopefully going to get us, they didn't come in quick enough to be a bridge for us, but they're going to be a way to provide relief to taxpayers for some of the funds for police, fire, and roads. And that's what I want them to be. New projects are just going to have to wait, especially if they're things that are cosmetic in nature.
I'm in agreement with Matt. General fund, police, fire.
So I think that does help give us some directive now. Naturally, we're going to dig in with bond counsel and figure out if we're able to unlock these dollars. And if we are, that'll either be as part of a budget proposal or as a separate standalone budget appropriations adjustment that you would see at a future meeting. And to Matt's point, we did include after this all of the different unrestricted TIFs. We weren't necessarily going to go through them one by one because there is a lot, but wanted that to be included in the packet so folks could see how they are doing year to date. And then really to just pause at sort of the second to last slide for Jeff to kind of walk through various allocation options.
And one last, and I don't think that it is so, but you can't use that for paying the operational cost of 102, can you?
That is a legal question that we would want to look into.
Sure.
So, as I mentioned when we first started this conversation, the strategy that we are working toward is using the capacity that has been created by these TIFs to pay for township needs, and as a result, be less dependent on the operating funds, police fund, fire fund, roads, parks, general fund, to meet the needs of the township. So this is a new source that's finally coming online that we can use for certain targeted uses, and it's going to be a little bit different with each TIF. But we are working to identify those options, and that will be part of what we bring back to you as part of the strategic plan and budget process here going into the fall here.
And so the chart that you see on the screen, the middle column, the 2020, the amount column, that shows what is the pure cash balance in the TIF as it's projected at this moment in time for year end 2024. Our recommendation is to never allocate dollars that we don't have because property values could fluctuate and could cause TIF revenues to grow or decline, but to always kind of be 1 year in arrear with what we allocate. And in circumstances where we are aware of a project, road, something to that effect that we know we're likely going to have to fix in the TIF district, so Hunters Ridge, Coppers Creek, Dunlap Grove, we've said let's not touch those dollars until we reach a balance level that ensures that we could do those fixes there. So like Hunters Ridge, for example, just sort of the nature of how the road sort of goes back and forth, there's a good chance that you'll see some landslide issues over time, which are going to create some major needs for initial road repairs. Copper Creek and Dunlap Grove, we actually went to the bat with the county on because we felt that we were probably going to have some unencumbered or unfunded, I should say, road liabilities there in the shorter term as opposed to the longer term. So that's kind of the strategy and recommendation from staff, and we'd welcome any feedback from you all on that strategy.
Yeah, I think that we need to keep our powder dry on this. It's kind of interesting because we've got more on the way. I mean, the $50 million project at Staverman, for example. But I think that up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there was just a philosophical opposition to TIFs in the township. And I was pretty critical of that. I think, interestingly enough, or ironically enough, we might have done ourselves a favor by being against it up until now because I think we need it now more than we would have needed it 10 or 15 years ago when we had higher higher receipts from the state government. When the state government and Kasich and those guys, made their large cuts, that created a pretty large gap that we needed to fill. So I think the irony is waiting may have been we may have been backed into a better strategy by waiting this out, because I do think this TIF money revenue is more important to us now and in the next 25 years than it may have been in the past 10 or 15 years.
There are no other comments. That will conclude our presentations for the evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to citizens address now. And Richard Blue, you want to come and speak now?
You don't need to
You're
swear in
fine,
for
sir.
this.
That was just for the public hearing. You're fine to go ahead and talk.
My name's Richard Blue. I'm a 30-year veteran. I did 3 tours in Vietnam. I got wounded 5 different times. I got so many shrapnel from hitting 3 Butch Hicom hand grenades. It blew. And I got all that shit. When I go to an airport and I take my wife back to visit her family in Germany, because my wife is here on the resident alien card and everything. Take her back over there. I set off all the alarms in all the airports in this country. But here's my problem. You put in speed bumps on Commodore. There's 4 of them there that leads back to the new apartment buildings, or the new housing area that's being built up. I don't know what the road name is over there on the other street where they used to have that gymnasium thing or whatever for Colerain, where they could go and play basketball and sit in there inside. The problem is you got a 4-way stop sign sitting there at Commodore and Regal. I've been living there for 42 years after I retired from the service. 42 years. When I first came here and bought my house, I had to fight to get to whatever committees you guys have replaced, okay? Because of all the car dealers on Colerain Avenue. When we had the one street where they got a stop sign and now they're making a circle. These idiots out there almost hit me when I was crossing from my house because the mailboxes are on the other side of the street. And also in the evenings. Is it after 8 o'clock yet? If you got somebody that's working real hard, driving a truck or something, okay, you can't get no sleep over there no more, because they got all the ghetto busters on their cars, and as soon as they step on the gas, you hear, through the goddamn freaking down Regal Lane. Okay? Regal Lane, Commodore, is now a circle. You got a 4-way stop sign that they're not even stopping at. You got a stop sign right across the way from my damn house on the other side street. And the jackasses come down and around, they don't stop, they're speeding. Sunday I took my wife and some of her female friends up to some of the antique stores here in this area, okay? And when I got back, my neighbor across the street from me, a 6-year-old, seen me get out of my van, and that little kid ran across the street. We got kids that play ball. Football season's coming up. And they're gonna be out there on the grass throwing the football back and forth on the lawns in front of their houses. And when the football runs out in the street, watch your kids, because they're gonna run after that football. And if the nutcases are using Commodore and Regal Lane as the Indy 500 racetrack over there now, okay, we need some way of stopping them on Regal Lane. When I first bought my house, and I had problems with every one of these car dealers coming down there with no license plates on, driving down to the dead end, okay, turning them and changing out the driver for the sale with the salesman to try the car, and they come flying up there. You know how I stopped them? I was still on active duty over at the University of Cincinnati, training the cadets in Cincinnati how to be damn officers. And a lot of those that got trained to be an officer in the military are still in the military, and one of them became a female down there at the police station down there in the city of Cincinnati.
Sir, we have a 5-minute limit. Would you like another minute?
You need to do something. What's gonna happen with the kids, when them kids get on the corners and the schools start opening up again? Somebody mentioned schools, okay? When the schools start opening up and you got those 2 apartment complexes down there, and you got all them people that was involved with the earthquake that they had at Mount Everett, all them people are living back on the backside of Regal Lane, okay? That's what they're back there. And those kids are gonna be going to school to learn how to speak English if they're gonna go into the other things. I may be a pain in the ass for you, okay, coming here every time there's a meeting, because I want to make sure that no kids or females, the mothers and everything, get hit by a nitwit. I've seen too many kids and women on my 3 tours in Vietnam get killed by the Viet Cong, not U.S. soldiers. We protected the kids and the mothers.
Sir,
And I don't want to see that happen here. Kids, young kids, that are gonna be waiting on the corners and morons driving by in case they, one of the kids gets out in the street.
thank you for making us more aware of the situation. Our police, thank you for your service, first of all, but our police chief is here. Maybe you can meet with him out in the hallway and talk about, the problems and some enforcement.
You talk all you want about the money and all that other crap.
Well, no, I'm all for increasing.
How much did it cost you to put in the 4 or 8, whatever they put on over there, okay, there's 4 sets. How much did it cost you?
There's a figure that
I'm
are,
gonna give you back half the money.
oh, sir, we want to have,
Financially sound.
we want to try to solve your problem. That's why I would suggest maybe you talk to our,
Go over there, drive around, park your freaking car in my driveway, okay? Park your car in my driveway and watch the morons and see what we, the people that pay your salaries with our tax money, okay? See what we have to put up with over there now since they've started building it. I'm a loud ass sergeant major, okay, the highest enlisted rank you can get. I'm loud. I sound angry all the time. My mother tells me, don't get yourself in trouble. You got 2 police officers back there, the chief of police and the other one, and she said, make sure I don't have to come over and get you, okay? Because I got 2 eyes, I got a brain, and I don't want to see children.
none of us do, sir.
Moron driving.
We understand. We want to help you out.
Come over to my house, 2897, okay, tonight, and listen to the goddamn ghetto buses. put the conduit, you know, they got the gun on the end of the pipe from the muffler, and when they step on it, so I'm half deaf. But they were gonna wake me up inside my house and wake me up at night. You gotta do something.
Understood.
Look into it.
I'm gonna come back again to your next meeting, and I'm gonna get louder.
Thank you so
Right,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Okay, Carrie, were you coming up to?
Right, goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Well,
Carrie, did you sign up for citizens address also? Is there anybody else that wants to speak
you
at
ever get
citizen?
wounded 5 times? You
Okay.
ever go to Vietnam? Have you ever been in the military? You ever fire a rifle in the military? Did you serve in the military?
No, sir. But I've always supported them. I'm currently taking,
Served in the military?
no, sir, I did not, but I've always supported them.
Anybody
Thank you.
here live on Regal Lane? Anybody here live on Regal Lane? Nobody?
Respect our elders, right? Real quickly as I can, because I have a lot to cover. Your meeting agenda does not say why you were in executive session, and I'm pretty sure you're required to tell us. Why were you in executive session? Okay, so since you chose not to, I'll just file,
Yes, sir,
I'll
Jeff.
file a complaint. Instead, since you refused to just simply
It's
answer it.
it's on the agenda itself.
On
Thank
the
you.
agenda, Carrie. It's right there in the doorway where people set stuff on the table.
I just looked at it. I'm sorry I missed it. Thank you very much for correcting me, Dan. And what was the reason?
I believe this is citizen comment, not back and forth. Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Okay, so I was concerned because the agenda does not list it on the front page. $81,000, we found that one of our police officers had $81,000 in overtime pay. I am hearing that some of that may have been for job details. The most concerning part of an officer working on average 20 hours of overtime a week is the danger it puts him in, the residents in, and his fellow officers. Because we control these overtime details, we have a responsibility to make sure that our officers are getting adequate sleep. When I worked at Christ Hospital on the cancer unit, they monitored our overtime because they knew our conduct would be compromised if we worked too many hours. So I would ask that you look into whether or not that $81,000 paid to one officer in 1 year in overtime pay, how much of that was detail work, and what our responsibility is as a police department to monitor that so it's safe for everyone. The other big thing that I am concerned about is, I guess you've all heard, or I assume you all know, Rumpke just spent $100 million in Columbus, Ohio. $100 million they invested in Columbus, Ohio. They are partnering with the college up there, Ohio State. They are giving Columbus kids tons of scholarships. They're opening a training center. And the reason they're doing that is because in order for Rumpke to operate in Columbus, they have to obey rules. The rules that I begged Mr. Waller to support. The exact same rules. I literally copied them from Columbus's rules. The reason we just lost out on a $100 million facility, and we are getting the crappiest, lowest level recycling facilities in Hamilton County, is because we don't expect more. And we really made a mistake. 460 jobs could have been here in Colerain Township or Hamilton County. Those jobs are paying $18 an hour. Their recycling rate there with the new equipment will go from about 50% up to 85%, which means Columbus's landfill is going to last a lot longer than ours, and they won't need to do an expansion the way they're going to be asking us for an expansion here, because our net recycling rate is only 20-something%. And this is because we didn't have rules. Up in Columbus, Rumpke pays $6 for every truckload of garbage that it dumps in the landfill up there. Mr. Waller knows, and he did support a $1 increase. So Rumpke locally only pays, we charge $2 per truckload, whereas Columbus gets $6 a truckload. That was part of the rules, was to max it out. Mr. Waller did not support that. He did support a $1 increase, though. So we lost out big time. You guys really hurt us. All of you took money from Rumpke. I will say in Columbus, not a single politician accepted a dime in campaign donations from Rumpke. The biggest problem was not you guys, although you guys are culpable, was Denise Driehaus. She worked behind the scenes to water down the rule I crafted and really screwed us all over. So I encourage people to look at this when they vote this year. All right, another thing I want to address is an employee of Colerain Township who was working with children, took a picture of teenage girls, posted it on Facebook, and called them thieves for stealing
How many more minutes do you need?
Yeah,
Two? Two
please.
is good, thank you.
Well, I'll try to be fast.
Okay, thank you.
So he posted these pictures from while he was at work. These are work pictures he took while on duty collecting a paycheck. And he called these girls thieves because they picked a couple sunflowers and humiliated them. After he did that, when I chastised him publicly, he called me the local criminal. Despite you guys arresting me 3-4 times, I have never, ever been convicted of a crime in my life. And your employee, talking about his work duties, is calling me a criminal on social media and telling people I'm a psychopath, which he's right on that. I am a psychopath. But anyway, so we have that. You have your Colerain Cardinals grant approval. I do appreciate you guys letting them use the shed, but I caution you, the prior president of that organization has basically fled town from what I can tell. Don't hold me to that as fact, but it appears his shop is closed. We do not know the financial condition of that. We do not really know the legal status of it. We have not seen board meeting minutes. We have not seen financials. I would caution you to be very careful in doing any business with them until you make sure they are a legitimate, well-run organization. And I would also like to remind you, the grant you received for the firehouse build required that any nonprofit entity or resident who is dislocated by the development must receive just compensation. So I find your agreement woefully inadequate, and I would like you to look at that and see if we can give them some just compensation for canceling their lease. Let's see if there's anything else. I wanted to ask, I see that the grant for $28,000 for the Sears demo is on the board. Did I miss a meeting where, did we get granted the state grant to demo Sears? A public official has posted on internet tonight that he got word from you all that he did. Keith Heather published on Facebook that you guys have received that grant, which if you did, good for you. And I think that is all. So thank you, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay, we had Jennifer Clements.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you.
Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Jennifer Clements, 3376 Alexis Road. I've lived in Colerain Township for about 5 years. I've had a few interactions with Colerain police that were very unpleasant. Today I had one that was great, so I thought I would speak about it. Officer Yelminger, badge number 44. I spoke called Colerain Police today, asked to speak to an officer in my neighborhood for some advice. He literally called me back within 5 minutes. He was the most pleasant, helpful, and concerned police officer I have ever encountered in my life. It was an incident about a child predator that lives across the street from us. He's a nuisance to the neighborhood, calls kids names, pulls knives out on children. I have called Colerain Police before on him, but he leaves, so nothing gets done. So this officer that I spoke to on the phone was very helpful. He gave me very good advice, and I just wanted you guys to know that he was awesome.
Okay, we appreciate
That's great
that.
to hear. Thank
We'd
you.
like to hear that. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else out there for citizens' address that did not sign? Okay, and I guess we'll go to administrative reports.
Yes, so first up this evening with administrative reports will be Chief Walls out of the Fire Department.
Welcome, Chief.
Good evening to the board and those of you in attendance. I just got a couple things for tonight. Administrative report, incident activity for July of 2024. There were 850 EMS incidents. There were 163 fire incidents. There were 36 responses into the Pleasant Run EMS contract area. There was 1 response into the West College Hill Golfway EMS contract area. A structure fire in the 10,200 block of Pottinger Road with a $5,000 loss. Our property value lost for the month was $5,000, but property value saved was $224,380. We have an 87.68% cumulative save rate for 2024. And our average response time for the arrival of the first unit was 4 minutes and 53 seconds. And first unit on the scene less than 6 minutes was 75.4%. And then just a public service announcement, I guess, for business owners, large or small. I received notice this afternoon that an individual was going into businesses on the east side of town, claiming that it was legitimate fire extinguisher service company. And was telling businesses upon an inspection that they required more fire extinguishers. He was taking cash only. Reported to have a address of 1240 Broad Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, but there's no 1240 Broad Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio. Upon issuance of the invoice, cash in hand, he stated to the business owners he was going outside to get their extinguishers, only to drive away and leave. So he is currently being sought by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. But if there's any business owners in the township who have any questions about inspections, fire extinguishers, and they're concerned, by all means, call us at 513-825-6143. I've made our Community Risk Reduction Division aware of this as well. So just an FYI that there is an individual or individuals out there right now claiming that businesses need more fire extinguishers, charging them, and then leaving with their money.
Thank
And
you.
that's my report for this evening.
And just a quick question, not to steal any thunder from later in the evening, but didn't the fire department win an important award this past weekend?
So bring that up.
I wasn't going to bring up the
humiliation.
the pickleball
Yes.
game award. I mean, last year you
You're
didn't
not-
flaunt it at me too much last year, did you?
You're not boasting a belt or
Just a
anything?
time or two.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to host a belt tonight, but we did win.
Okay.
So let the public know, we had a beautiful pickleball tournament Saturday. And I guess the opening ceremonies were the police versus the fire. And did you, Pickleball this way?
I think the fire department won.
I do believe the fire, did you win
they did.
last year also?
No, police won
No.
last year.
Oh,
That's
so
why
next
he's
year.
being humble. So.
Okay, so next year, okay.
We kind of played it easy last year, and this year we
Okay,
went for broke.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next report will be delivered by Chief Ed Cordy.
You two didn't play, just let everybody know.
Chief?
Good evening. It's always something, isn't it? I'm glad the fire department beat our our officers this year. One of our officers that played, it was the second time that he's ever played pickleball. So the fire department has a lot to be proud of. In that tournament.
Oh, I've seen Mark Walsh play, no.
All right. So jumping right into this, the police department for the month of July responded to 3,828 calls for service, to 124 calls per day. That's actually a decrease from July of last year, but we're still looking at a 6% increase for the year as a whole, about 1,500 more calls this year when compared to last. For the month, we conducted 286 traffic stops, 109 crash reports, 167 arrests, 7 OVIs, 4 uses of force, 1 strike, 1 takedown, 1 pepper ball, 1 taser, 2 vehicle pursuits, and 2 internal investigations. As usual, no rhyme or reason. The busiest days were Wednesday and Tuesday. Code enforcement for the month. We had 312 inspections, closed 88 violations, had total of 4 abatements, 20 property maintenance violations, 31 zoning violations. ECU officers only had 1 litter complaint this month, which is shocking. 22 vehicles investigated for abandoned, only 4 had to be towed this time. 18 parking complaints, and interacted with the public for various questions 53 times. The impact team, it was a little bit slower month for them when it comes to stats due to the fact the majority of their time was caught up in investigative work and in-service training, being majority of our training staff is directly involved with the impact team. They only conducted 2 traffic stops, had 6 felony charges, 5 misdemeanor charges, seized 7.5 grams of meth, 4 grams of fentanyl, towed 2 vehicles, 2 canine deployments, assisted the road with 47 details, and conducted 163 hours of investigations. For the month, some things to be proud of. We were able to, with the school district and the fire department, have a very successful large-scale training event, including the communication center, had over 100 people involved. We were up at Pleasant Run, and we did some of the worst-case scenario training that you can imagine, being active shooters, having actual staff inside the school when these scenarios are happening, have the communications going back and forth with the police and fire at the same time, and work through our process of what the response would be, what the fire response would be. That is not the type of training that is typically happens in all jurisdictions, and that was all around a fantastic day for all of us involved. National Night Out was a huge success. The administrative parking lot worked really well, I believe, as a venue. We had a lot of positive feedback. Now the not so great scenarios that have happened in the last couple months. In the last 6 months, just for a point of reference for people, we've had 2 occasions where our officers had to physically fight somebody that tried to grab their firearms on a detail. One happened just up the road on Walgreens, and just talking consensual encounter with this individual, and they went straight for the officer's weapon, and they had to, luckily 2 of them were on scene. Another one just happened over the weekend back on Veneer, where an officer immediately got engaged by this individual, and they grabbed his firearm, and our officer broke their ankle during that one. So I'm not sure what's going on in society today, but some pretty craziness is happening, and both of those involved were juveniles.
And one thing you sent out the report, which I was most happy to see, about the crime that's committed in Colerain. Majority of it is not our residents.
We've always speculated that a lot of times that a lot of the crime doesn't involve Colerain residents or Colerain suspects. Just looking at the data from March of last year through the end of July of this year, we're averaging about 40% of victims of crime is not Colerain residents, and the suspects as well is about 40%. There's also a large category in both of those that involve either, especially the victims, or I'm sorry, the suspect standpoint, that involves unknown suspects. So they could either be Colerain residents or outside residents, but there's a lot of crime that's involved. And we're talking about major violent crime here. That just is imported crime, if you will.
Right, and just with Mr. Blue's concern, I mean, just coming here tonight, at a red light, 3 people went through while I had the green light. I mean, the amount of the law doesn't apply to me with people in driving. It's getting ridiculous. So I understand Mr. Blue's complaint, because I start yelling at people,
Yeah,
and I
unfortunately-
understand.
Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, without the proper staffing to be able to directly enforce traffic, it's going to happen. It's known, and you think about when you go on the interstate, you're always watching because you think a trooper's going to be there. That's trained into our brains. Here in Colerain, unfortunately, we have the staff to be able to respond to calls. We don't have the staff to be able to directly make a impact in the traffic flow and the behavior of the drivers in Colerain. He's directly talking about Sovereign. We talked before the meeting about this. Sovereign and the displacement of the vehicle traffic down onto Regal Lane, and they're coming from either up Colerain from Colerain down Regal and coming to Majestic, or vice versa, coming Majestic down Regal and dumping out just to completely circumvent the speed bumps.
And unfortunately, that's not the first time that has happened. In just about every instance we've installed these speed cushions, there has been some level of displacement onto an adjacent street.
Absolutely. What else can I answer for you?
Thank you for responding to something at 9:30 Sunday morning and taking care of an abandoned car that was there one day, and the next day the windshield was bashed in. And I sent you a message about that Sunday morning at 9:30, and you seemed to get it handled in about 30 minutes. So appreciate that.
Keep up the good work. Thank you, Chief.
Keep arresting, keep ticketing people, that's all I gotta say.
And the next administrative report will be presented by Assistant Administrator Mays.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Okay, for our monthly report, on the screen here, we've got our vehicle traffic counts, and as you can see, we're nearing our target, which is above 160,000 vehicles that enter our parks. Some of our parks are doing better than others, but it's really neat that I noticed for this month, it's actually equal distribution. If you look at the colors, you can see the bands are becoming more equal, which is really exciting as a recovering Parks and Recreation director to see to see that trend happening. And then our next statistic is our bags of litter, and as you can see, we're well above our target on that as well. Outside of that, I have some other news. One, just briefly here for the rest of the week, Springdale Road, we've learned from the county that they will be closing the road between Yellowwood and Maple Knoll on Springdale Road here out front for the next 3 days. So there will be no access or through traffic through there, so you'll have to look for a detour on that. And then the last thing, I have great news about the township receiving a state capital grant to fund 100% a bouldering element at Heritage Park. So it'll work really well there. The amount was for $75,000, so that should cover construction, purchasing the item, and getting that another recreational opportunity, which is one of our initiatives this year, part of our strategic plan.
Is there gonna be a weight limit on who can climb that?
No, and it's really neat. I've seen this before. I was really excited to get this grant and get this over into Colerain Township. I've done this in other organizations where I've worked, and it is such a hit. Like, we're gonna get a lot of really, you'll see the age range from kids to people my age and even older climbing on it. So
Okay.
it's gonna be neat. All right, any questions for? All right.
Thank you, Tiff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next administrative report is Development Director David Miller.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. I've already provided you with a copy of the development dashboard, so I'll run through those real quick. We had you may not remember, but last month we had a new record of 96 zoning certificates that had been processed, and this month we were only at 93. So we're right there again. It's been very busy, combined with the work that we've been doing on finishing up the draft and all the comments for the new zoning resolution. That'll be coming back to you very soon. There'll be a motion later on in the agenda, but out of those 93, 74 of them were residential, 19 were commercial, 3 zoning commission cases, and 2 Board of Zoning Appeals. Notable on those numbers, we had 19 solar projects that were done this last month in July, and 15 new single-family homes. So permits continue to come through for single-family homes. There's a lot of building activity going on by Miranda on Sovereign at Northbrook in that residential neighborhood. And so we're excited about that. And then we've had some calls, and we're working on those. There's a lot of activity going on the old Beavis Elementary site. So a lot of dirt being moved. That construction has begun, so they're preparing that site. And
that's going to be 99 condos?
99
Townhomes.
Landominium, townhome types.
We call them in
Yep.
our MLS condos, sorry.
So that'll be 99 new homes there.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yep, great job, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board, to round out administrative reports, I'm really excited about a new one that we're going to be doing every month. This is going to be presented by communications specialist Tracy Naren. So as Helen comes up, I'd like to just brag for a moment. She's done an incredible job at getting us a number of items of earned media. And, you know, historically, that hasn't been something that Colerain has done, but almost all of these are positive. And so she's got a report, and then she put together something even better on top of that to really demonstrate just exactly how prevalent we've been. So I hope the technology works the way that we're hoping it will.
Nice to see you up
Welcome.
here, Helen.
Good evening, board. So I get the privilege of saying all the wonderful things that we've been doing lately. In the past 8 months, we've had a number of events that are positive for our community. We've had National Night Out, like Chief Cordy said. We've also had the American Heart Association certification for the fire department that got a lot of traction in the news. Of course, our 4th of July Spectacular, which we had multiple agencies cover. Occasionally, we'll have someone drop in for coffee with the chiefs, and then have that so that everyone can see it in the community, so they can ask any questions that they have. Make sure that our both of the chiefs are publicly accessible. Most recently, the one that I'm proud of is our first responders and how they were able to be reunified with a gentleman who had a cardiac event. So you may have seen this on Friday, where he was driving with his family down 275, had a cardiac event. His family was able to get him to the side of the road, and our first responders did an absolutely wonderful job taking care of him. He had said he met with his doctor in the months since, and out of 10 patients that the doctor had seen lately, only that one gentleman survived. So really, really just touching event. We've also had a lot of social media growth, which is wonderful. Over 7,000 followers on the Township page, over 14,000 on police, and I believe it's 12,000 on fire. So it continues to be a great way to get information, as well as our Circle, our e-newsletter. So if people aren't on social media, we have a lot of information there. We've got our 50th anniversary of the fire department coming up next year, so starting to work on efforts for that. So stay tuned to see some very exciting things for the 50th. We've also been a guest on a podcast, participated in that, recorded about the budget, so making sure that we're very transparent. Just overall, a lot of success leveraging our media relationships with all of the TV stations, of course, Fox 19, Local 12, Channel 5, WCPO9, as well as radio with John and Friends on KISS 107 and 700 WLW. Of course, the Inquirer. We had one of the reporters here earlier tonight. And our good friends with Waycross Community Media, so that we can talk about pretty much whatever the community wants to know. Dana's peeking out from the closet there and giving a thumbs up.
She's coming out of the closet.
Couple events coming up if residents want to participate in them. We do have our movies in the park that are still going on. The next two this Friday is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at 8:30, and then on the 23rd we have Migration, which is a really funny animated one as well, about some ducks who are taking risks in life. We have our Lindy Hop Day that was rescheduled from May. That is going to be happening on Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Colerain Park. And so we will have the Jump and Jive band there, so get your dancing shoes out. We also have a Yappy Hour to celebrate National Dog Day. That's going to be at Heritage Park, and we've got a lot of local vendors who are going to be coming out. Pet adoptions happening, and just real fun for dog owners to come out. That's going to be on Monday, August 26th at Heritage Park from 5 to 8 p.m. And then to showcase really those partnerships that I was talking about before, I just wanted to put together some short video. It's about 6.5 minutes, just of things that we've had lately. And this is probably just within the last month. So here is our good news clip.
And bear with the audio. I'm hoping to get it to work properly.
So there's our pickleball tournament from the weekend.
I reached over and looked at my wife and I said, something's not right.
Greg Adams and his family were on their way to his grandson's basketball game when he knew something was wrong. He was having a heart attack and passed out behind the wheel, heading down I-275. Everyone in the car scrambled to get it off the highway while performing CPR.
I was doing CPR, I put my hand down, and I thought she was still there, but it was our Sergeant Renner, and his hand was just like touching an angel's hand.
Body camera video shows the moments officers got to the scene, running toward the car.
All right, you just started breathing now. This is my squad right here that was on the scene that day.
And Friday, 5 months later, was the day Greg Adams got to say thank you.
Everyone here saved my life. And it's just, words aren't enough. These are amazing people.
Adams says the doctor that has treated him in the days and weeks since says that he's seen 10 patients with the same type of condition, and he's the only one that survived.
Next week, Colerain Township's hosting its second National Night Out. It's a great opportunity to meet your neighbors and local law enforcement for an evening of fun, food, and community spirit. Here to tell us more is Lieutenant Jamie Penley and Officer Chris Thomas from the Colerain Police Department. Guys, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
I guess the first question for folks who might be unfamiliar is, what is National Night Out, and why is that so important?
So National Night Out is a opportunity for the community to bridge the gap with police officers, work together to pretty much show that communities are in power against crime prevention, things of that nature. So it actually started out as a neighborhood watch type program way back, and it's evolved to what we have today.
Yeah, and I know you're going to have a lot of activities involved with this as well. What sort of things can people expect when they come out?
So they can expect, some people do it at home. I mean, in their communities, sometimes they do it more kind of to a blown up proportion like we do at Colerain Township, where we do it at our township building. So you'll see barbecues, people connecting, games.
Cornhole for kids, we have bounce houses, we have a blow up track and field type blow up house for them.
Yes, good morning, Aaliyah. Well, the 5K starts right at 8:30, so just in about an hour. As you can see, it takes so many volunteers to put this on. Lynn, I'm looking at Troop 24 right now. They've been coming out since the beginning, since this started 13 years ago. What does it mean to see their support and so many others here today?
We are so grateful. We're a 100% volunteer-run organization, so we couldn't do any of this without our 100, at least, volunteers. And Troop 24, and then they also partnered with Troop 660. They kind of merged. Okay. They've been coming every year since the beginning. They help with our setup here, so setting up the tables and the chairs, which is a big task. Yeah. They help with parking. We're so blessed with amazing volunteers and helpers for our cause, for our mission.
Of course, it takes so much help to put this together. I'm looking around, it seems like a lot of fun games and activities kind of after the race. Can people participate in?
Absolutely. So we have free children's games. Snowbug is here for Snowbug. Yes. Awesome snow cones. We have merchandise, a medal ceremony. The best thing is the superhero sprint for the little ones. They get, spoil alert, hero capes, and they get little medals when they cross the finish line.
The new Colerain Community Art Wall is now on display at Sinfed Credit Union.
The project includes artwork from students across the Northwest Local School District. Jason Maxwell.
So this
has
one in
more
particular, we
today's
had
Through the Lens.
K-9 members from police and fire contribute artwork to this wall as well. And so they were both departments were on hand.
Thank you for calling SinFed Colerain.
showcase
This is Dee. How can I help you?
We're here today because SinFed Credit Union is opening a
schools was
brand
the
new
main-
branch
schools
in
were the main
Colerain
focus,
Township.
but SinFed also requested the art from
It's been under
little
construction for about
pop-ins
18
from us,
months,
too.
and this is our grand opening, so we're glad to welcome everybody in to see what we have to show.
There we go. You got two. Two is better than one.
Well, it's important that Colerain is our home now, so we have a place here, so it's important that we fit into the community. And as part of that, we've established a community wall. And the community wall features artwork that was created by students from throughout Colerain Township, Colerain Elementary School, middle school, and high school. So it features their artwork on their, it featured a theme of what do you see when you look at the sky? So it's a lot of artwork about stars in the night sky.
Picture this, a warm summer evening, the sun is setting and you have the sound of live music or maybe your favorite movie filling the air at Colerain Park. That is just a bit of the magic of the Colerain Township's free Sizzling Summer Entertainment Series.
Sounds so nice. As we dive into another season of unforgettable concerts, movies, and special events, we're here with Debbie Potzer, the event coordinator with Colerain Township, and Tawana Moulter, the assistant director of public services, to give us kind of the inside scoop on this year's fantastic lineup and why it's a perfect way to spend your summer nights. Thanks for joining us, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
All right, can you give us a little bit of an overview of the free Sizzling Summer Entertainment Series?
Okay, well, the Sizzling Summer Entertainment Series is a series of movies and concerts that we host during the summer months on Friday evenings. They're all free events, free for the community to come and enjoy.
It's awesome.
I know when it comes to the live music too, I mean, you really have a variety of different bands booked throughout the summer. Can you tell us more about that variety and what the atmosphere is like when people come out?
Yeah, so we have a big variety, anything from folk, classic rock, oldies. It's fun to come out and enjoy live music. I love live music. It just takes you away from all your troubles of the day, and it's something that everybody can afford because it's free.
Yeah.
So that's just some of the good news that we've had throughout the month. And again, all of these segments are earned. Companies spend lots and lots of money being on TV. This didn't cost us a dime because we leverage those partnerships with media.
Good job.
Very good job. And I also want to thank you. I've been talking to Jeff and Mr. Miller, and you put together the one-pagers for economic development for the CIC to use, and those are fantastic as well. So I guess we'll kind of unfurl those at the CIC meeting, but now so that people that have various contacts in the community, we've got talking points that are consistent that we can say, hey, come to Colerain. I appreciate that too.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll conclude administrative reports.
Okay, we'll go to trustee reports, and I'm just going to jump in first because of Helen. Our National Night Out was between the donations and the people there. Lieutenant Dean Dorfline dressed up on a 90-something degree day in that heavy outfit, and he entertained all the crowds by letting our new dog Ghost take him down 3 times. It was wonderful. And then the UC helicopter coming in and watching it land and letting the kids go through the helicopter, the SWAT team. And it warmed my heart to know that I live in Colerain Township, but I think it's the best township to see everybody working so hard after hours, the people donating and involved in the whole, it takes a large community to put on this type of event. It was wonderful. And then that was on a Tuesday night, and the next Saturday was our pickleball tournament, and there is Tiffany being the coordinator for who wins and who loses, and the losers had to go into the senior center, and you were there. I had to say that, just but it was 20 teams. I mean, we doubled our participation from our Colerain Township residents. It just, you saw Debbie up there. I've worked with her, and she's doing the Yappy Night Out. We've got a DJ, we've got food trucks. She goes over and beyond. You know, these guys are all volunteering after their hours they put in here. So this is a lot of personal time on them too. And just wanted to let them know how much I appreciate them, and I love living in Colerain Township because of you guys. Thank you.
So just to defend myself first, David Miller got 4th place in the tournament, and me and my partner, we have decided we got 9th place.
Well,
So-
there was a giraffe and zebra that won second, third, or first, and so I'm just letting you know. It's a fun time out.
All right, I'll go ahead and go because it's pretty short. The National Night Out was fantastic. The number of people that attended, but also the number of people that from the prosecutor's office, fantastic U.S. Marshals were there. The helicopter was awesome, landed to Miami Vice. Big fan in the day, so I got everybody on my trivia question on what was Crockett's first sidearm, which was a Bren 10. Nobody's ever actually heard of that gun because they only made about 1,500 of them, and it actually didn't work too well, but evidently it showed up real well in night scenes. And I don't know who it was, I forget who it was that dressed up in the full tactical gear. When in 90 you might be a little low on the 90 degrees. It might have been a little warmer.
It was Dean that
Was he in the okay?
I got bit 3 times.
Well, then somebody else was by the SWAT truck too.
Okay.
With the tactical gear, and it was hot. It was the hottest day of the year, and just the number of people there. The kids were having a fun time painting the cruiser, and actually, I would have lost a lot of bets on this, but I think that the biggest point of interest was honking the horn on the bulldozer. People were honking the horn on the bulldozer. I don't know. I'm like, guys, you got a horn at home. I mean, with all this cool stuff. But it was fantastic, and the participation by I'll say staff, but employees of Colerain Township, police, fire, the public services, the administration. It was fantastic. So to shout out to fire and EMS to continue to do a fantastic job, almost to the point where it's just like it's like expected now. I almost feel like I take them for granted. Just fantastic in their responses. The interest story about after going through this summer, what my mom went through, to hear somebody had 100% blockage and survived is just incredible. And just the first responders there. Just kind of reminder back to school. This always seems to be a problem. Look, if your schedule is so tight that you have to drive up on the sidewalk to pass a school bus, you need to make some changes in life. Nobody has a tighter schedule than I do. Watch the kids. Keep people safe, because the last thing I think anybody wants to do is be there waiting for police and ambulance or EMS to come because they did something stupid because they were in a rush. We go through it every year with people trying to bypass the school buses and things like that. We can be patient. And if it takes waking up 5 minutes earlier, wake up 5 minutes earlier. One of the public comments was about rules on the Solid Waste Committee. A couple of things about that were completely inaccurate. There were a set of rules that were floated on the Solid Waste Committee before I was a member. And ironically, it was before I was a member because that citizen tried to hold up my membership. So I wasn't able to vote either way. And the reason the rules were not adopted or even voted on is because the attorney for the county commissioners is the prosecutor's office, and they felt that I think that, well, I don't want to speak legally here, but they believed it was an overreach. So there was never even a vote on it for me to vote no, and I wasn't even on it to vote no. I did try to increase the price of what are called tipping fees when you bring trash to the landfill. And I thought it was a question of equity, and it was not. It was $1 for the first year, but it escalated over a number of years. But it was only for in-state, out of county. So my point was, look, I would, as a Hamilton County resident, I would gladly pay more to take my trash to a different county. What a lot of people don't realize is 30 or 40% of that ends up in the Rumpke landfill are from other counties within Ohio, like Montgomery County, near Dayton. And if you roll up to Rumpke, if you use their self-serve or you dump out your trash there, you'll see big Montgomery County trucks. And my point was, look, let's max out on this and take the money and redistribute it to the members of the Solid Waste Board. And I got shot down on that, but it was an odd coalition of support because I had support of corporations that supported it, and I had support of the Sierra Club, and the city of Cincinnati said was almost on board. They supported it, but they didn't want to make it. They didn't want to make it a fight. You can't charge more for out of state because it's already been adjudicated in federal courts. It's a restraint of interstate commerce, and I didn't want to charge more for the county, Hamilton County, because we're not maxed out yet on outside of Hamilton County, and that was an effort that took about 9 months worth of negotiations. I lost out on it, and I'm not finished with it yet. I still want to do that. But as far as a set of rules, I was not on the board when that set of rules was floated, and it was never even voted on because it was deemed outside their power of the Solid Waste Board, which is essentially anything that the Solid Waste Board says or does has to be voted on and okayed by the county commissioners. And I have a sense that the reason my out-of-county increase probably didn't work is it wasn't going to get by the commissioner level. And it's a good thing to shoot it down at the solid waste level if it's not going to make it through. I mean, there's no need to keep fighting it if it's not going to get passed by the county commissioners. But the reason that this all came up is we went through the process. We have to approve a new solid waste plan on a semi-regular basis, and we were in the process of doing that. And that was passed by every single member of the solid waste district except one member and this is all townships, cities, and villages. And the one that didn't pass it didn't vote, so it wasn't a no vote. It was just they didn't vote at all, and it was something that took the committee about a good year and a half to kind of work on. But I just wanted to set the record straight on that because the citizen did provide some misinformation. I would love to get whatever it was, a $500 million or $100 million facility. The point is we are recycling at larger and larger percentages in Hamilton County than ever before. And by the way, people don't I didn't realize this when I joined the solid waste district. It's more expensive to recycle than it is just to throw it out. I mean, what we're doing by recycling is trying to increase the lifespan of the Rumpke waste facility. So that's, I think, it. Everybody enjoy back to school. I start this week too. So, Mr. Unger.
Thank you, Matt. And just to expand a little bit on what Matt's talking about, every county in Ohio, if I'm correct, is required to have a solid waste disposal plan. And here in Hamilton County, Colerain Township, being a host community to a landfill, gets an appointment. And I think it's marvelous that one of the 3 elected trustees that happens to be here from the host township has a spot on that board. And I think part of the reason that that citizen objected to you being on that board was, I don't know if she didn't think that we should have a representative on there, but I think it's absolutely critical. And so that's why Matt's on that board, and I think he does a good job on there. In response to a couple other resident comments, the driving back on Regal and Commodore, to that citizen, thank you for coming, and most importantly, thank you for your service in the military. That's critical. I've been very lucky in life to know a lot of people that earlier in life that were in the Second World War and Vietnam and other conflicts the country's been in, and I sincerely appreciate their service. But I've been back there twice in the last 3 weeks looking at various issues on Regal and then one on Commodore. I was on Regal 2 Sundays ago, and I was on Commodore 3 Saturdays ago, just looking at various things. Going back to there was a comment made by a citizen that we did not advertise our executive session, and it is clearly right here on the agenda, and it says the reason we went into executive session. So sometimes what the residents say and what the truth is there's some distance between those two. Rumpke has a recycling facility down in St. Bernard, and the primary reason it is there, and I have toured the place, and if anybody wants to, please call Rumpke's Public Relations. I'm sure they would arrange it. The main reason it's in St. Bernard is it needs to be on a rail spur. They are loading 4 or 5 boxcars a day with recycled cardboard that goes off to the next step in the process, which is it rails out to a company that actually recycles the cardboard. And that's why it's in St. Bernard, and those jobs aren't here in Colerain. We do not have rail service here in Colerain. The facility they built in Columbus, and I saw this on one of the local news stations, was a $95 million recycling facility to help out Franklin County and the surrounding areas, get as advanced in recycling as we are. There was a comment made about businesses along Colerain not cleaning up. We already have a process in place through our code enforcement to get people to clean up their properties. And I will end it with just a personal note. I am a huge fan of small independent business. I have spent my life outside of my work as a trustee. I've spent my life working for small family businesses. When I was a young man, I met a guy named Elmer Hensler, and my grandfather and father were always in the retail grocery and meat business, and I have known Elmer since I was a little kid, and he built a marvelous enterprise called Queen City Sausage. And I probably saw him, I used to see him a lot. He was still working there, up till the last time I saw him, which was within the past year. And he took a very small investment in 1965 and just built this marvelous company that has his products all over many states. And he passed away over the weekend, and at the age of 94, a very accomplished person, and a lot of people have different heroes. Elmer was one of mine. He took nothing and made it into something huge, employed thousands of people over his career, and his legacy is the great products that he has out in stores. So rest in peace, Elmer Hensler, and that's the rest of my report.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Board. First up tonight in public safety under new business are items presented by Police Chief Ed Cordy.
Welcome back.
All right, we got item A. Is a resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. This resolution allows for the removal of uncontrolled vegetation and or refuge at the following properties: 3290 Ainsworth Court, 2468 Maryway Lane, 6408 Springdale Road, 11919 Walden Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion that we approve the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement at the properties listed by Chief Cordy.
I'll second. You can second.
You go.
Any discussions?
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Wallach?
Yes.
Item B is a resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 11979 Wincanton Drive. At this address, there is a 2010 white Dodge Journey, Ohio license plate HIP 4121. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
A motion to declare a junk and motor vehicle in 11979 Wincanton Drive, a 2010 white Dodge Journey.
I'll second Matt's motion.
Sorge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Board. The next items tonight will be presented by Fire Chief Alan Walls.
Welcome back, Chief.
Good evening once again. I do have 3 items tonight. I would like to start with letter C.
C is in chief.
C is in chief.
Or Cordy.
Or Charles. That letter being, or item, motion authorizing the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with Duke Energy for Station 102 site work for $13,929.70, and we recommend adoption of that resolution.
I'll motion to authorize Township Administrator to execute agreement with Duke Energy for Station 102 site work for $13,929.70.
I'll second Matt's motion.
Ms. Sorge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Next is letter D. This is a motion authorizing revision of Resolution 5724, authorizing cost recovery for fire and rescue services at motor vehicle crash incidents involving non-residents. And we recommend adoption of that resolution.
Motion to authorize a revision of Resolution 57-24, authorizing cost recovery for fire and rescue services at motor vehicle crash incidents involving non-residents.
I'll second it. No comments.
Ms. Sorge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
All right, then, and finally, we have letter E. That is a motion authorizing the Township Administrator to execute a contract with Fire Recovery USA for cost recovery of fire and rescue services for motor vehicle crash incidents involving non-residents, and we recommend adoption of the motion.
I motion that we authorize the Township Administrator to execute a contract with Fire Recovery USA for cost recovery of fire and rescue services for motor vehicle crash incidents involving non-residents.
I'll second.
Ms. Sorge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, Board, the next items tonight will be presented by Assistant Administrator Mays.
Hi again.
Welcome back.
The item under the Public Services is item A, a resolution to prepare and submit an application for an Ohio Public Works Commission, or OPWC, grant and to execute contracts as required. This information can be found on page 88 of your packet. The OPWC offers a state capital improvement plan, otherwise known as SCIP, for aid in funding public works eligible projects. Colerain Township is preparing a grant application to improve the Amarillo Court drainage issues that occur regularly and create street flooding. The grant can cover up to 90% of the repair costs for high-scoring applications. Staff recommendation is an adoption and approval of the resolution.
I motion we approve the resolution to prepare and submit an application for an Ohio Public Works Commission grant and execute contracts as required.
Second.
Thank you for working on it.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Sorge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Board. Next item will be presented by Development Director Miller.
So I mentioned earlier that we have been working probably for the last year and a half on a rewrite of our entire zoning resolution. And so in 2021, the board passed a new comprehensive plan. And what we're now doing is updating our zoning resolutions so that we have the laws that can help us accomplish the comp plan. And those would be synced together, and we can move forward with a plan that the board has said this is what we'd like to see in the township. So I think we have some encouraging, some aggressive, some innovative ideas in this new resolution. The Zoning Commission has already had numerous meetings where they have gone through line by line, chapter by chapter. And so we're probably at a point where now, August the 20th, so that'll be next Tuesday night, the Zoning Commission will take up their their latest version, where we have, again, heard from the public. We've had public meetings. We've had hearings with them as well, and community engagement. And so they will do a final look at this latest version next Tuesday, and then make a recommendation to you. And so the motion before you is to set a public hearing for August the 27th. That'll be your next Board of Trustees meeting, where you will have a public hearing to examine the resolution that they will recommend to you. And we'll invite additional public engagement, of course, comments from you and the public, and then 2 weeks later, then we would make any particular changes that you would recommend, and then have a final vote in September the 10th, I believe is the date for that. So
I motion we set a public hearing on case CZZ 24-8, text amendment to all articles of the Colerain Township zoning resolution. The hearing would be on August 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
Any questions?
Is the draft available for people to see?
Thank you. I was gonna mention that. So what we have prepared a version that we're going to get up on the web tomorrow, and that will be available for the public to begin to peruse before they come to the zoning commission meeting, if they would like to. And then that will be the copy that we'll move forward with, and that'll be either edited by the zoning commission and sent to you with a recommendation. So that will be available tomorrow. And with the schedule that we've already laid out tonight, that will be available for everybody to see.
Great. I have no other comments.
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Board. And the final item of new business will be presented tonight by Assistant Administrator McElravy.
Welcome back.
Thank you. This item is on page 92 of your board packet. This is a resolution authorizing the adoption of amended appropriations for two funds, really just some housekeeping here. The first change is an increase in appropriations of $1,295 in Fund 2274, which is the American Rescue Plan Fund. Each month there is a portion of the interest that the township earns on its pooled balance that is allocated to this fund. And in order to get as close as we can to spending the fund balance down to zero, we are seeking this increase in appropriations so that we can take full advantage of the grant before we close it out. The second change in appropriations is in Fund 2913, which is the TIF for the Abbeytown project. This is an increase of $800 to a total appropriation of $99,500, and this will set the stage for us to be able to make the compensation payment to Northwest Local Schools as part of our package of agreements associated with that project. Staff recommendation is adoption of the resolution.
I motion we adopt the resolution authorizing the adoption of amended appropriations.
I'll second. Any discussion?
As described by Jeff.
Ms. Orch?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
There's no old business tonight, Board, but there were a few consent items, which I'll read into the record. There was a contract I signed with Hamilton County. This was a grant that would fully fund our demolition plan at the Sears site. That's zero cost to us. Grant with Northwest Local School District for CPR training at zero cost to us. Or, sorry, not a grant, a contract. Contract with Colerain Youth Football and Cheer for equipment lease of our shed. Contract with Duke Energy for an easement for Station 102. Contract with Alpine Valley Water Service. This is for the water cooling service for our training areas. It's $156.80 per quarter. It's a 24-month contract. Contract with the University of Louisville for the Southern Police Institute training course. There's no cost to us, and we will receive some free seats in that course as a result of that training. There's a contract with the AEP Energy. This is for our gas aggregation program, which you all previously authorized me to execute at a prior meeting. That is for a rate of $0.5894 per cubic foot. So that is a significant and substantive reduction from where we are today with our gas aggregation. That's a 1-year term that will take effect in the November billing cycle of this year. And finally, we have several new hires, which is a new recruit class for the Department of Fire and EMS. All these individuals will be brought on at a rate of $16.50. And please bear with me as I fumble through the list of names. Carson Auciello, Noah Back, Naaman Blakely II, Andrew Byer, Max Collette, Carson Collins, Greg Dietrich, Luke Griffin, Jacob Gutzweiler, Tyler Hughes, Christopher Johnson, Dylan Kissel, Graham Knapp, Jacob Priestel, Ryan Rell, Adam Sackenheim, Zachary Schlatter, Christian Sims, Isaac Swisshelm, and Zachary Wall. And I would recommend adoption of all consent items.
A motion we approve the consent items as presented by Mr. Weckbach.
I'll second.
Any discussions?
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a fiscal officer report?
Thank you, Board. All I have for a report tonight is an update on public records requests. So far this year, we have received 347 public records requests. That doesn't include the ones that go directly to the police department, so that number is significantly higher if you include those. And with that said, we are currently at only 2 active, so it's done a really good job of keeping up with all of them. And 2's about as low as I think it's been, other than that one time we were at 0. But we've done a really good job, so that's all I have.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a need for an executive session?
Yes, I would recommend a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to discuss appointment of public employees or officials.
Could you please indicate the reason this time?
I motion we go into executive session as described by Mr. Weckbach.
I'll second.
And before you all take the vote, no action is anticipated to be taken at the end of this executive session.
So you're welcome to hang around, but when we come back, I think all we will do is adjourn the meeting.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
5. Hi, Mr. Weckbach. Is there anything to report back from executive session?
Nothing to report, but you.
We have to do a roll call first, sorry.
Ms. Orich?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
Nothing to report.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned at 10.
Vote.
Sorry, got to vote again.
Ms.
It's late.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 10:12 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.